Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the pub here to answer your questions. It's Chris, it's Pat, and it's myself today. Okay, the first one was sent in by Jerome Tang. He says, one player each of the top six should sign and one player each of the top six should sell. Go.
Oh,
it's more of an order than a question. More of an order, but who would you go for?
I think we've got a tough act to follow after last week's Sunday Vibes. Really enjoyed that. Thought that was one of our better episodes of the season. And season's winding up, isn't it? And we're going to do a season review in the weeks to come. And I was also woke up at 4 a.m. this morning by Adam Templeman, which is exactly the reverse of how you should start your day. So excuse any brain fuzz. I guess we start with Manchester City, top of the league, work our way down the current standings.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious that they've needed a Fernandinho replacement for a long time. We've discussed that at length, so I won't bore you with that again. But what is interesting and what seems to be gathering steam and developing in recent weeks is the signing of Rodri from Atletico Madrid, who we were big fans of when he was at Villarreal, moved to Diego Simeone's side. Didn't fit in straight away, did he? Had a tough adaptation period, but has finished the season really strongly. And he is more so from the Busquets school of thoughts, I'm led to believe. More so than some of their previous targets that included Fred, that included a Ndombele from Lyon, who were more box to box, I guess, in the classical sense. Rodri is a guy that completes around 60 passes a game, 3 long balls, huge defensive contribution, which is, I think, where Manchester City are particularly mindful of when it comes to replacing Fernandinho. So 4.4 tackles and interceptions. He seemingly got it all, and they've triggered a release clause of 70 million euros. I don't know if that's kind of a badly kept secret at the moment, but you kind of called this at the start of the season. You liked his skill set, you liked his long, rangy Busquets approach to play. Do you think he's going to do the job? Because that is a big old mantle to pick up, isn't it?
Well, he's just going to play it in a different way. I think it would be easier in a way than if you came in as somebody like Ndombele, who is more of a runner in midfield. You know, like Fernandinho, who started as a box-to-box player. I think the fact that Rodri will play the role in a completely different way will probably help with the Fernandinho comparisons. Busquets, when he was kind of dropping off last season, he's previously talked about Rodri as potential heir to him in that role, and he was going for 12 million euros out of Villarreal. Really liked that move. Atletico Madrid got it sewn up last January, and then first month of the season, a bit in and out of the side with injury, but then since then has been pretty much an ever-present. This seems to me just like a really easy, sensible signing for Manchester City. I mean, like, they need somebody who's going to mop up and do loads of defensive work behind pretty much attacking midfielders who are now playing as central midfielders.
But the question is, we only get to pick one. I think we can all agree this is probably the most essential area.
I think it's the only essential area.
So it's not, Man City aren't really contentious in that regard. We might have a little bit more to and fro when it comes to the other top 6 sides. But we're saying Rodri is extremely sensible. Should we move on to?
I think that we need to sell as well.
Who should leave Manchester City?
This is a way more difficult category, isn't it? To who to get rid of, because I don't feel like there's that much fat in that Man City squad at all. In fact, I feel like it's a little bit thin in certain areas.
Well, it looks like Danilo's off though, right? And
Company, Delph.
You don't get rid of Company, do you? It's just an ever-present.
And Delph as well. Like, I feel like with Company and Delph, like, you don't get enough money to make up for just like 800 minutes or whatever. Whereas Riyad Mahrez, for instance, like, you probably still get enough money for him to make it worth selling him. Yeah. He doesn't really give you enough.
Disproportionate to what you lose with Delph, isn't it?
Exactly.
He can plug multiple gaps.
I think they might be tempted to sell Ilkay Gundogan this summer. There's been a lot of shout about Ilkay leaving this summer.
And Danilo to Inter and Gundogan potentially to Inter as well.
What's happening to Vishalko at Inter?
I don't know.
If Danilo's going right back. Inter Milan
odd
just keep buying players in the same position. They've got Everton syndrome, haven't they, from 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And they bought about 6 number 10s.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see Gundogan leave this summer as part of sort of a midfield overhaul if they do sign at least. I think they'll sign at least one centre mid. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 came through the door.
And probably a left back.
Probably a left back. Yeah, we talked on the podcast a little bit about Ben Chilwell as well, didn't we? Potentially joining Man City if they had the funds to get him out of there and didn't believe in Benny Mendy as much as the reports this week have said they do.
So that's quite interesting then. So who do you get rid of, Gundogan or Mahrez? Who still adds more value to that squad? Gundogan has been pretty consistent in terms of his place in the side. Can play a couple roles.
You certainly get more money from
transitioning
Mahrez.
the ball. Yeah.
You certainly get more money from Mahrez, and it's whether or not
less wide options. Right. I suppose Bernardo Silva can play out on the right. So who are we going for? Mahrez
I think
Gundogan.
Yeah, I think potentially Rodri in, Mahrez out.
Yeah,
I would probably cash in on Mahrez while I still could at Man City.
Yeah, me too.
And then I'd put faith in either. Obviously, Phil Foden doesn't want to play wide, but I put faith in potentially some of the youngsters coming through to play out there and cover. And they've got enough cover, quite frankly. My worry would be is if you keep Mahrez, you end up losing Sane. And I think that if you want to keep Sane, which should be imperative to City's thinking, that you probably have to get rid of Mahrez in the long run.
Mahrez already making noises in the press as well, which generally, if players start doing that against Pep Guardiola, it never really goes their way, does it? I mean, who would be good suitors for Riyad Mahrez? I mean, you're in desperate need of a wide right player, but Manchester United, can't imagine City doing business with them.
Feels like an Italy situation.
Yeah.
Feels like Italy can solve that problem.
Yeah, I feel like he hasn't. I feel like his personality doesn't suit somewhere like the Bundesliga, like a relentless kind of work ethic, team ethic either. He's kind of very much an individualist, isn't he?
Marseille.
He could play as a 10 though, I mean.
Marseille.
Marseille, yeah. Aging Dimitri Payet.
Talvan's getting pissed off.
Or
as
Leon,
well, isn't he?
Leon potentially say they lose Memphis or they lose a Fekir this summer. And
Not bad, like that Marseille Leon then, to pay. I mean,
big downgrade though.
It is a downgrade, but he'd still
Marseille
do really
got the
well.
cash, haven't they? They've got the Bunsen burner.
Marseille feels
So we're saying Mahrez out and we're saying Rodri in at Man City this coming summer. Let's move on to second
Fixed.
then, Liverpool.
This one's an interesting one because I think the received wisdom is that they need another centre-back, and I think you've got to look at where they're most fragile, and it does feel like if Van Dijk got injured, their defence would be in serious trouble. But similarly, they've been really lucky over the last couple of seasons that they have not had a significant injury to one of their front three to deal with, because after that it gets thin really quickly. Shaqiri had a great first 3 months to the season and has barely played over the last few months, has really disappeared. Origi has not kicked on at all and doesn't really look like much of a talent.
No.
And Sturridge basically can't contribute at this point.
Yeah,
he needs jettisoning.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's a part of me that thinks the best way to make this team anti-fragile is to put in another top quality forward, but then you have to deal with juggling minutes. I don't know. I mean, are they worse if Van Dijk goes down or if Salah goes down? It's a bit difficult to say. Like, the temptation here is just to say De Ligt, right? You bring in De Ligt, that way if Van Dijk gets injured, you've still got one outstanding centre-back.
Yeah.
And it's not, or even Toby Alderweireld.
That was what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I think Toby would be a brilliant signing. We've said it on loads of shows, but Toby Alderweireld at 20 million, ship out a Matip or a Lovren at 10, cut your costs in half, and that would be an incredibly impressive move. But I'm erring towards your sort of way of thinking, Pato. I think that Liverpool might go for another sort of attacking midfield option. You know how they obviously went for Fekir. We've all seen the photos of Fekir in the Liverpool kits and did the medical and failed the medical, and that deal was all but sewn up. So Klopp's thinking is clearly that he wants an attacking mould of midfielder in that role. So I wouldn't be surprised to go and see them dip into the market for a player like that. I don't know who that is.
I think the perfect player would have been Felipe Anderson. Like, he can play on the wing, he can cover you on both wings, he can play as an attacking mid, he's going to give you huge pressing and defensive work rate as well.
There's a long-term
he'd be really, really good.
For Naby Keita not to contribute more going forward as well. I think they wanted more in the way of goals and assists from him. He's supposed to be a bit more of a progressive midfielder when they brought him in.
They still signed Fekir with him coming in, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Fekir would be great. I also think they need to be mindful of players like Henderson and Milner being kind of... I mean, Milner's at the peak of his powers right now, isn't he? If anything, I'd say he's overperformed this season and they've still been pretty reliant on him. And Klopp, to kind of counterbalance that forward three, has gone for a really industrious midfield. So it might be that they look for another workhorse if Wijnaldum keeps being this player that progresses him up the pitch. Although you wouldn't... If Naby Keita's firing on all cylinders, you don't necessarily need Wijnaldum to do that, do you? So yeah, maybe a midfield option, but there's no one.
They have got the Ox coming back from injuries, missed
the
this whole
Ox,
season,
the Ox, yeah,
and looked
and he was
amazing the back half of last year.
He was becoming increasingly central to the system, wasn't he? I don't think anyone else improves the squad in the way that De Ligt does. I think that's probably That would be my
But do we
suggestion.
think that's an actual realistic sign? Like, I think Rodri is a realistic sign. I just don't see Liverpool having the pulling power against Barcelona to bring a De Ligt in.
Yeah, I mean, say getting someone like Umtiti out of Barca or bringing Alderweireld does feel much more realistic in that sense. Yeah,
I think De Ligt to Barca feels like the sort of move that is like the worst kept secret in world football, and it will just be announced on a random Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
Who should they sell?
Oh, it can be any one of the guys we just mentioned. I think
Or Moreno,
Divock, Origi, yeah.
Though actually, if we're not bringing in a left back, I think you have to keep Moreno.
I think Moreno's leaving on a free. I think his contract might be.
Yeah, I know, but then what do you do? Like Gomez, does he back up that position? It's horrible.
He was rumoured
It's really
to
troubling.
be going to Barcelona as well, which would be absolutely
Sturridge.
peak Valverde.
He'll be out the door when he Danny
Should we
Sturridge.
just
Yeah,
say
we
one
just
of-
don't get any money for him. That's the problem.
I don't know, West Ham.
Okay, if West Ham will give us some money for Danny Sturridge, then sure, let's get rid of Danny Sturridge and like give the place to one of Liverpool's supposedly great young players.
Yeah.
Is it Woodburn? Is he meant to be great?
Yeah, I suppose it depends who they're bringing in as well. Like if they're going to bring in, someone like De Ligt, I know you guys have kind of poo-pooed that, but you could ship a Matip or a Lovren out as well, couldn't you? But yeah, I could go with Sturridge.
And Nathaniel
Happy on
Klein
that.
as well, I think might well move on a permanent to Bournemouth.
Yeah,
though they're still really thin in these areas, man. Like this is the trouble. Like this season, Milner can't back up left back, right back, and play central midfield forever. Like he cannot do that.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit troubling because after Trent Alexander-Arnold, where's their right
Joe
back
Gomez
depth?
plays right back.
Yeah,
I think he's just wasted at right back.
Yeah, it's troubling. Like there's still actually lots that could be done to that squad.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to overall say a centre back. I personally think it'll probably be more in the mould of Alderweireld than it will.
Umtiti, Lovren, not Lovren, sorry.
Umtiti, Alderweireld, or a sort of De Ligt, but I think De Ligt will end up at Barca. And then Danny Sturridge is the definite sale.
Okay.
I think for all three of us. All right, let's go to Chelsea. Can't sign anyone, so not great. So we may as well
Let's
talk
assume
about,
they can though. Like surely let's assume they can.
All right, if you want to.
Just for the sake of this conversation,
because otherwise they're not going to do anything. I mean, like it's obvious. It seems pretty obvious that Eden Hazard. If Eden Hazard goes, then the guy who'd probably be good for them to get is Coutinho. Like Coutinho is actually very, very similar to Lorenzo Insigne, and Insigne obviously had the best seasons of his career under Sarri at Napoli. And I kind of, when I look at that squad, like yes, they maybe could improve, like in fullback areas, like, but I think Loftus-Cheek will play more next season in that attacking midfield role, which will improve the balance a little bit. And I think that if Hazard goes, the main issue is how do you deal with Hazard going? Hazard's been involved in 48% of Chelsea's goals. By comparison, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's been involved in 35% of Arsenal's goals. 48%. Like, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
32 goal contributions, isn't it?
29 in the league. So you kind of look at that and you think, well, if he goes, like nothing else matters. Nothing else matters except resolving this. And as much as I love Pulisic has never been that guy. Pulisic has never been like an outstanding creative contribution or goal-scoring guy. I think he can maybe grow into that, but you don't want to bet on it next season.
Yeah.
So the first thing I think is if Hazard goes, Coutinho. If Hazard doesn't go, maybe I think a left back or a proper striker, but I'd be willing to gamble on Tammy.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Who cares?
Yeah.
I think Tammy Abraham's done more than enough to merit a chance in that front line.
Okay. But
Like,
no
what
Messi,
more
would
could he
you,
have
would
done?
you let Messi go? What would you do with Messi?
If Morata's going to Atleti permanently and I can't keep Higuain, then I have to keep Mishi because otherwise I've got no forward backup.
Yeah.
Like, and this season they've been thin on the ground. Like their second highest scorer in the league is Pedro with 8.
Yeah.
Like they're the only team in the top 6 who only have one player in double figures.
And I guess Giroud.
That's troubling.
We're believing Giroud's probably going to leave on a free in the summer.
I'd give Giroud a new contract.
I would as well.
I think
to
it's
tide
just
him
sensible,
over
isn't it?
to tide him over for the window, I would definitely give him a new contract. Kovacic is going to go back to Madrid after a pretty disappointing season, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, great first half, and then it just feels like that midfield balance has actually got worse and worse over the course of the season. To me,
I would agree. I think the Hazard replacement is imperative, but they're just not going to be able to sign anyone. I really don't know what they're going to do. It's going to be a disaster next season under Sarri.
So I think Pat just touched upon it really already.
I mean, it's hard to see how they get back.
Hudson-Odoi out for the first 3 months of the season. Pulisic is going to take time to bed in. No Hazard replacement.
Everyone's a year older.
And Pulisic doesn't seem to have that natural instinct when it comes to goal scoring. And if you lose Eden Hazard, who is, like Pat said, you know, their predominant is underselling it as well, goal threat. But then you need to bring in someone as a creator and in that kind of hybrid forward, you know, midfield position. Maybe someone like Sarabia from Sevilla, who we were kind of touting earlier in the season, is a good fit for Chelsea and a good fit for Sarri. Kind of diminutive, mobile forward who can kind of play in the centre or as an attacking midfield.
Diminutive. Why does he need to be short? Is it important to Sarri that he has a short
Absolutely.
player?
He just loves, you know, people who cut about with pint-sized legs, doesn't he?
Mate, he should get you in.
Mertens,
Your tiny legs
I am
pumping up the
available.
wing.
Still carrying a bit of holiday weight, which, you know, Sam Obaseki described as a madness, much to my chagrin. A madness. I didn't know there was, you know, so much fat in olives, to be perfectly frank, and I ingested about 1,000. Yeah, so Sarabia out. Marcos Alonso would be nice. It'd be nice to get rid of Marcos Alonso, so I don't have to listen to Chelsea fans complain about him and how good, you know, that Emerson Palmieri is and how he's not getting a game. That'd be nice to kind of cut that out of my life.
And then I suppose you've got Aspi who can back up both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I would get rid of Drinkwater. I think just eating up wages, can't buy a minute, just a total waste.
Yeah.
Of
Well, class still,
120k a week.
So,
Sarri's
own words.
I'd probably get rid of him. I just don't, like, that's at least the deepest position they've probably got.
Unless someone offers me money for Willian. If somebody offers you money for Willian, I think you just take it. Like it's
even if you lose Hazard.
Well, again, you mean if someone offers them money
mate,
again?
well,
like,
exactly. Who gives a man? Who is going to give them more than 15 mil for Drinkwater? Whereas apparently every with a credit card wants to slap it down for Willian.
But if Hazard leaves, do you still get rid of him even if it's like 20 mil, 30 mil?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, he just seems like Chelsea fans absolutely despise him. And like, it's more about like, who's the person for whom I can get maximum money. And I still think, you know, with like, Loftus-Cheek isn't a wide player. He's never been a wide player. Mason Mount's not a wide player. But I sort of think, you know what, we've probably got enough. We've got enough attacking power.
Reece James can come back in as well. We're just going back to the fullback situation.
Yeah, well, if he plays right back, then you've got Aspi who can cover. Yeah, it's not good, but I mean, what can you do? You've got a transfer ban and you can only make one signing, like, apparently.
They are in so much
I think
trouble.
the transfer ban
to keep Hazard, man.
But from our point of view, the transfer ban makes him a much more interesting proposition. I mean, they might finally have to, you know, play someone like Mason Mount.
But they're just not. He's just absolutely not going to do that, Sarri. I just don't see any way Mason Mount starts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sarri has no incentive to do that because Sarri doesn't give it. Like, if you have Lampard there, like, I don't think he should be there, but if you have Lampard there, like, Lampard's really going to care about like the future of Chelsea and Chelsea's young players. Sarri doesn't. Sarri's just going to put whichever 11 out that he wants. And I really respect the fact that he has like genuinely not cared what Chelsea fans say all season long. Because obviously, as a general rule, no one should care what Chelsea fans say. They're almost always on the wrong side of every issue. So like, I don't know, I agree with you in the sense that I think we're going to see minutes for a lot of young players next season. What I don't think we're necessarily going to see is a good Chelsea side.
Not for 1 second do I think that he's going to be flexible with his starting 11. Historically, that has never been the case, has it? There's been great youngsters kind of come and go under his stewardship at Napoli. But if injuries may force his hand to play these people who we perceive as like really interesting, prodigious talents. And that's the only way I think I'm going to care about Chelsea next season. Yeah. Honestly, I'm bored of talking about Sarri.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are going to struggle big time. Right, let's move on then to
Spurs.
Tottenham. Now this is the most interesting, I think, Tottenham of all of them.
And likeable. I find them the most inoffensive club in the top 6.
That's just because they don't win anything.
Probably.
Okay.
Their fans don't have that same sense of entitlement, do they?
So
they need a midfielder.
They need a centre mid. This is obvious.
They just need a midfielder. I mean, they actually could do with a forward as well. So I think Kane's
centre mid's more pressing.
Yeah, but I think Kane's on his way down, and like after that you've got Son, and that's it. And we've seen them struggle to put forwards on the field this season. It's difficult.
What about? I mean, this is not that imaginative because they've just played Ajax, and he was one of the players, you know, who's influential in pulling that back line apart. But Van der Beek, not being kind of touted for a move to one of the elite, one of the big kind of 5 or 6. I mean, he's not. If he kind of played as their most advanced midfielder, Dele Alli might be able to drop in, and Dele Alli has that skill set where he can exert control over a game, doesn't he? Van der Beek, surprisingly low pass numbers for an Ajax side that have so much possession, that you know, becomes synonymous with those quick little triangles and that interchange. I think it's about 28 passes a game.
He drifts in between the lines.
Or 30 odd, but his movement is incredible.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of David Silva, but he doesn't have.
I just think.
But then what?
Sort of
I just
numbers.
think
why do you want him?
If you go to Ajax, like, why not? You can get Ziyech. Ziyech's got a 20 million euro buyout clause.
Yeah, but
like,
we spoke about Ziyech.
I know.
I'm throwing something new.
But these are just guys. These are not solving their problems.
He's going to want to drift into the exact same areas as like Christian Eriksen. I
Or
think
Dele Alli.
they need a DM.
Well,
Yeah,
unless I'm about to suggest that Christian Eriksen goes for 100 million.
I think they need a defensive midfielder. Yeah, but even still, I think that Dele Alli can cover his creativity. Like, what they can't cover is like literally having no legs in defensive midfield.
At the base of midfield is their worst issue.
Yeah.
But also, like, we've addressed this. Who do you think is the most viable option at the moment? Because obviously they can't start the next season with Wanyama and Dyer and expect Pochettino to stay there for any longer than a year.
Weirdly, I think this is actually an area where like people talk about how you need to buy top players. I think this is an area where there are bargains to be had.
You can develop.
There's Florian Grillitsch at Hoffenheim whose numbers look amazing. Actually, you know what?
Who was linked with Grillitsch in January?
Spurs.
Oh right, okay.
Tielemans would be great because he can play a more defensive role. He's not doing it at the moment, but he can. After that, I mean, Ibrahim Songare would be great. Yves Bissouma off Brighton would be great. I mean, they could go and say, you know what, we're going to take Ndidi off Leicester. Because if we're only talking one transfer...
Too much, man.
If we're only talking one transfer, then just like spend 100 million on one transfer.
I really don't think Tottenham can get Wilfred Ndidi.
Neither do I really, but they could make a play for him. Like, so that's the sort of player I think they should be kind of looking at. I mean, I'd want a bit more of a passer than Ndidi. Like, he passes a lot, but he's not a particularly great passer.
Yeah.
Whereas Tielemans is a really, really incisive passer, but a bit less of a defender.
Yeah, and Ndidi would have been a banging option. I mean,
Grillitsch has lots of progressive passes and runs and big defensive numbers, and that's what I think Spurs need more than anything else. A guy who can mop up everything at the base of midfield and ping it forward to those forwards.
Yeah, I think they probably should have gone for Lo Celso, man, before Betis snapped
Everyone should have gone for Lo Celso, though, right? You should have.
He's kind of been playing as a bit more forward.
But he can still slot in there, can't he?
Yeah, he's still got good.
Was it 21 million euros on a permanent?
Yeah,
25. But yeah,
which is a bit of a shame. I actually don't think that's the
Rabiot.
Yeah, obviously Rabiot, but Rabiot will just say no, I think. I don't think he's the right man, but the sort of player that they'll go for is actually more of like a Declan Rice, I think.
God.
I don't think he's the right option, but that fits more of a Pochettino mould signing than like a Grillitsch.
I'll tell you what, if you just said Kovacic, if Real Madrid were willing to cut their losses, I think playing as an actual six, like Kovacic would be phenomenal for Spurs. Like he kind of he's played there for Croatia. And actually Brozovic should be really good.
Yeah,
Brozovic's an amazing passer, great defender, has played as a six, can get forward as well. He's actually played as a 10 before too. Can pretty much do everything in midfield. Brozovic would be sensational.
What about if Barca looked to offload Rakitic? I know he's past his best.
He can't run anymore.
But it goes back to what we were talking about when it came to Fabian Delph and players like Vincent Kompany. Losing Rakitic for 20 to 30 million euros doesn't represent good value for Valverde, who will no doubt still play him in 30 league games next season.
And he's had a poor season. Like, I mean, he and Busquets.
I think he's been good.
He can't run anymore though. Like, he and Busquets are now both defensive liabilities. Like, it's a real issue, and that's why that midfield has got more and more. I don't want to say negative, but more conservative. Like, they've sat deeper and deeper as the season goes on, because this idea earlier in the year that they were going to play Coutinho in midfield.
He's papered over a lot of cracks in that side.
He's done his best, but I think it's the system that's papered over it. I think that they've just been more and more conservative and just like knocked it up to Messi. And what you're seeing in Barcelona is the greatest one-man team of all time, because the rest of the side has had pretty poor campaign with one or two exceptions.
Okay, so who do you sell? You probably don't sell anyone, if you're totally honest.
If you can get away with keeping Eriksen and Son and Kane, keep them all. But
if you have to raise funds, right? Let's throw this argument in there, because Tottenham might well have to raise funds this summer.
Yes.
Do you sell Eriksen at 100 mil and cut your losses now? He's got a year left on his contract. Or do you go Harry Kane, 200 plus million?
We touched on this in Continental Club,
and we look to reinvest across a squad.
Are you assuming that Eriksen signs a new deal if we sell Kane?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
I mean, and then you look to invest that across the squad.
If you can still get Timo Werner for the fee that Bayern were, touted as to getting him for, which was around 50, wasn't it?
Yeah, 45.
If you can get 150 for Kane, or you just said
200.
You just said 200, which I think would be very generous at this point, given those recurrent injuries, yeah, you take that, and if you can get someone like Timo Werner, and yes, if you can get
anyone, Icardi,
because it allows you to
Haller.
get, it gets you to allows you to get a
Jovic.
Timo and a centre mid.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to caveat this with, we still think Harry Kane is one of the best number 9s in world football, but it's part of the larger picture, isn't it? I think Christian Eriksen's more replaceable than Harry Kane at this point.
Yeah, it's like
I don't think
it's like
I don't
Liverpool
know
selling
Harry Kane
Coutinho
is
to reinvest that and buy Naby Keita and Virgil van Dijk.
I think I'd be happy to let Eriksen go at this point. Like, I love Eriksen, I really do, but like, he's got a year left on his contract, and I think that Ali has really pushed on creatively this season. And if you let him go, you could bring in like a Ziyech for like 25 mil, still get another wide man, still get another fullback, still get another central midfielder. Like,
Eriksen would cost. Ziyech got a buyout.
Apparently it's 25
25 million.
Wow.
So you pay 25 mil for, well, you say that, but he was going for 12 mil before, and Swansea turned down the chance to sign him before he went to Ajax. So I think, yeah, you pay that, and then you could get in 2 central midfielders and a new right back.
Yeah,
like,
I
that
agree.
feels like good work to me.
I think I would probably end up keeping Kane and just getting rid of Eriksen. I think you've got to cut your losses with Eriksen now. If he goes into the final year of his contract, he's in such a powerful position just to walk out the door and just and that is such a mistake for Tottenham, who have no funds. Tottenham aren't in a position that they can afford to let any superstars.
Yeah, to make a point.
Yeah, no.
Like, they have to take.
Like Chelsea,
they're like Arsenal. They
Chelsea,
have to take the
Chelsea
money.
could say, Hazard, you're going nowhere, and you can leave for free.
Yeah, the worry is that Eden Hazard goes to Real Madrid, and then I don't think you have many more destinations for Christian Eriksen in terms of generating £100 million.
Yeah.
Like, where else does Christian Eriksen go for that amount? Who else needs a number 8, 10 that badly?
Well, if Bayern let James Rodriguez go,
PSG.
like, they don't want to keep him.
Imagine you get James for
PSG.
around 50, 60.
I
He could
think-
go to any of these
Okay,
Premier League
well,
sides
we're
we've
not
spoken
we're not
about.
covering him because he's not in the top. We're not covering them because they're not in the top 6. But James Rodriguez to Wolves.
Oh my giddy
If he's available for 30, 35 mil,
Lukaku to Wolves.
that is
this season.
pure Mendes magic. James Rodriguez off to Wolves.
They
Can
would
you
have
not
to-
feel that?
they
You
would
just
have
pay
to-
for Porto. It works.
They have to buy him like a small island.
Mate, it'd be sick.
And he would as
What,
well.
where he could live? 'Cause he's
And
not
he
going to
would.
live in
Did
Wolverhampton.
Ronaldo buy Mendes an island? Anyway,
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so
Wedding.
for Tottenham, we're saying Christian Eriksen should be sold, and they should look to reinvest that in a DM/a striker.
I'd say DM.
Backup.
I'd say
But
DM
mainly
over
DM.
striker.
Mainly DM.
Because you can keep Kane. It's not an issue to keep Kane.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on then to Arsenal. Pato.
So many positions.
So many sales
well,
as well.
I think really, obviously defence is the issue here, and the only question I think is whether you go left back or centre back.
Centre back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let us pick for you, because I know that you're bored of talking about Arsenal at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with
Centre-back.
anything in those
And
positions.
this centre back surely going to be lining up next to Socrates, which is
I think I'd actually go left back.
what instead. Okay, Kieran Tierney.
Or I mean, it depends
I'm
who you
sick
can
of
get.
talking about him leaving.
If no one
on
goes
this
and spends
bloody
60
show.
mil for Chilwell, and like you can only make one signing, Arsenal have enough money to do that one signing. Like, you could go for him.
I
But yeah,
just think
Tierney's who I'd actually go for in the real world.
Let's go centre back though.
I think it
I
has
think
to
it's
be.
a more interesting proposition.
It's difficult,
Umtiti, if he's available, I think Umtiti could United or Arsenal. Like when we eventually segue into United,
He'd be an
I think-
amazing signing
I
for
think
him.
he's
I think
worth
it's a
taking
little
a-
bit pricey for Arsenal. though,
I think
isn't
he's
it?
worth taking the risk on if you're either of those teams who might be. I don't know if you've got the pulling power at the moment to attract a player of that calibre if he's not in the situation where De Lig's going to the club.
But that's kind of how I felt. Oh, sure, yeah. Well, that's kind of how I felt about Aubameyang, though. When Aubameyang came in, I was like, we'd never get this guy to Arsenal. And then he was willing to come, and so was Lacazette. Like, I mean, and I think also for French players of that generation, like, Arsenal does remain like quite like an appealing idea. But yeah, I think Umtiti might have a point to prove, and we give him some hefty wages because we're freeing up a lot of space on the wage bill this summer.
Umtiti would be a fabulous signing.
I think a Pamecano or someone would be good as well.
Oh, took the words out of my mouth. RB Leipzig statistically
Yeah,
the second best defence in the Bundesliga this campaign. I know Pamecano not exactly getting the minutes.
Yeah, like 1,200
Been
minutes.
rotated this season.
And I still think that he
for injury as well, though.
a bit at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season, but less so recently.
Niggles though,
But
nothing.
you hear the way
drastic.
that people talk about defenders, and while Konate is paid more minutes, he is seen as the slightly more rash guy who's more reliant on his physicality, and Upamecano is seen as like the more cerebral kind of like
cultured,
thinker
yeah.
about the game. And I think that Arsenal need to, if it means paying 20 or 30 mil extra, Arsenal need to do that this summer to go for the person who's the right person as opposed to the cheap person.
Okay.
They need this centre-back signing has to bang.
Yeah, it's the same with Man United. So, okay, so we're saying an Upamecano.
What about if you could get someone from Bayern if they keep doing a madness with these defensive options they want to bring into the club?
Is it interesting? We were talking about Bayern on the podcast this week. We did our under-23 team of the season. Sunday Vibes Extra Time is finally back. You can click the link in the description to listen. But we actually played like the game of who do you think's had the most minutes of centre-backs for Bayern Munich?
What, Sula, Boateng,
So Sula's top, 2,400. So Sula is top.
Yeah, I like Sula. So Sula's definitely staying.
Hummels had the least of any of the centre-backs.
Which is interesting because you'd imagine it'd be Boateng.
Yeah.
So Kovac, what rates Boateng?
I think, yeah.
Well, I think it's been fitter
so
as well.
I think either of them could leave, but I don't think either of them is the right man for Arsenal.
And I think it would be a lot of money for what you'd get in return.
Specifically wages.
Umtiti at least is a sensible risk. Like Upamecano, I think is less of a risk. I'd be much more, rather than getting one of those guys, I'd actually rather go for an imperfect young player who could turn into a star.
I was going to say, it's kind of, you keep buying players, or defensive options in particular, who have just kind of passed the peak of their powers. And I think you're probably getting that with Hummels.
We've only done that once,
with
really.
Hummels again. I mean, Aubameyang's had a good season, but I feel like that's not...
He's
not really kind of particularly lasting. Yeah, going back to, defensive options, Mustafi was a bit of a gamble and is...
But he was 24, he wasn't past the beat.
Younger than people probably
Stefan Lichtsteiner,
anticipate. Yeah, Lichtsteiner, gratis. Who else? Historically, who was the left back that was torrid, that was eventually shipped out to Turkey?
Oh, he was an oldie though, Andre Santos. He was like 24, 25.
Either way, so we're saying potentially Upamecano in at centre-back. Who do you think needs to get out the door? Squadron?
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a centre-back, then get rid of a centre-back, and Mustafi, I think Holding had a pretty decent first half of the season, still extremely young. Mavropanos extremely young. Koscielny will retire at the club, so yeah, obviously get rid. And Sokratis has been okay, so I'd get rid of Mustafi, because you'll actually get 12 mil maybe.
Keep Ozil or free up the wages.
I mean, not in this scenario, but generally, I would get rid of Ozil if he's not going to play next season and reinvest. But it depends if you can find someone to take those wages.
Yeah, it's big wages to take and eat, isn't it? And like we just said, if Christian Eriksen can't get that move, he'll probably be asking for less wages.
But I mean, there's always Bayern or someone like that. They might take the wages. That's right.
Okay, but either way, we're going to go Mustafi out and Upamecano in.
I'm pretty happy with that. United.
Let's keep Man United brief because we've talked about Man United's transfers to death and everybody is tired of it. And
Young out, AWB in.
Including us, by the way. No joy from doing 6 United players in 1 week.
I mean, it's the easiest answer ever, isn't it? Get rid of he who should not be named to bring AWB in. Alexis Sanchez is the most obvious sale of all time.
Yeah, you get rid of
interesting
Sanchez.
wise.
You've got to be getting
Get rid of he who should not be named.
Actually,
I don't know. You're right though. Get some money for Sanchez. You're not getting money for Young. You're just binning him off for retirement.
He could be in the squad next season, and that still be fine to some regard.
Nah, just give him a coaching role, but not actually let him do any coaching.
The most obvious one, the most sensible one, 100%. Alexis Sanchez has to be so. He's a player who cannot be there next season.
Okay, so it's
under any circumstances.
More interesting question though. Do you think that United, more so than the other teams, there's one side that could not just sign one big name in the coming summer in order to reverse their downward spiral? I feel like
we need to get rid of
3 or
7
4
players.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of a minimum 7 players from the team, from the squad.
Yeah, I think you need a DM, a centre back, and a right back.
Those are the most crucial roles.
I think Arsenal could get a good centre back and a good left back, and they'd be pretty much fine next year. Whereas I feel like you need the right back, the DM, and the centre back. Spurs actually need quite a lot.
If I could sign one player, it would be Wan-Bissaka this summer, and if I could sell one player, it would be Alexis Sanchez.
More so than Jadon Sancho, Wan-Bissaka.
What if I could sign one player? Yeah, Wan-Bissaka.
More so than Jadon Sancho?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he gives you width at least, Wan-Bissaka. And the thing is, if Sancho's there, it doesn't matter how good United's attack is actually pretty good. But they cannot defend.
So bad.
They've got nothing in defence. It doesn't matter how good Sancho is.
If you presented me those 2 players, I would never pick Aaron Wan-Bissaka over Jadon Sancho.
I would if I'm Man United looking at their
United have got to
squad.
stop signing, just signing players for the sake of signing players.
You've got to look at what the problems are.
Team.
Their problem is not their attack. Your problem is not your attack. You can score goals. You've got 4 players in the league who've got over 10 goals. And Lukaku's had, by all accounts, a pretty poor season, and so has Martial. In defence, you've got literally nobody competent.
But you
No
also,
one.
yeah, like, okay, if Romelu Lukaku is being seen as the main man next season, then
Definitely not.
Then fine. You've got Juan Mata who's aging, Alexis Sanchez who needs to get out, and then you've got Rashford. We still don't know how kind of. It's going to be interesting to see whether he can be relied on to bring in the same goal haul next campaign. So I don't think the attacks is necessarily as like nailed on.
No, but if you look
good
at
enough.
if you look at the levels of squad, like
Same, yeah.
Martial, Rashford, and Lukaku are still going to probably be there next summer.
And with Pogba behind
with Pogba behind them, and then
I completely get that.
Defensively,
So-
no fullbacks. Other than we've got Luke Shaw.
That lot, mate.
I mean,
The
okay.
best prospects in Portuguese football.
I think United have to sign Wan-Bissaka this summer. Can't afford to let him go.
I really hope you sign Mooney.
No, the worst room that's been linked this week is Trippier.
Wow, God.
Yeah.
Mate, Eric Dyer.
Trippier and Idrissi Gueye this week.
I mean,
No, what? Just to get
is
to do a
Idrissi
job
Gueye
for
to
you?
compensate for lack of being able to defend down that right hand side.
Jesus.
Aaron
I put
Wan-Bissaka in,
my
Sanchez
team of the
out.
season. There's not a better right back in the Premier League at current, but yeah, I feel that's just very sensible.
Wan-Bissaka in, Sanchez out, and then please God let us sign a centre back. Please God, get rid of the Chuckle brothers, get rid of Bailly, get rid of Rojo, get rid of Darmian, get rid of Mata.
You literally want to sell your whole squad this summer.
A minimum 7 got to go.
Why don't you just buy Leicester and like put all their young players into your side? That'll work.
Minimum 7 have got to go, man. Get Rojo as far away from Old Trafford as possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a bone collector, isn't he?
Terrible.
Finally
Good film,
sorted his
mate.
liver.
Denzel.
I've never seen someone terrorise people's ankles like him.
Okay, so is there anybody else we want to talk about in this little mini section?
No.
No, I mean,
Pretty happy with that list?
a lot of people on my Twitter timeline were asking about how Wolves and Leicester bridge the gap. We've kind of touched upon that continuously throughout the season, and while it kind of feels like they're ready to take the next step up, there's still a big points total. There's a bit of a void in between 6th and 7th, isn't there? Which is alarming given how bad United and Arsenal
and
Chelsea. Have been, and it's kind of, at least identifying their problems is fairly easy, isn't it? So once the big teams do that, which you assume they're going to do, then it becomes much harder. Wolves, I mean, you've already suggested.
It's just like how much
you've
better.
already suggested.
I think Leicester's is the easiest
It's
one.
like
of all
how
of
much
them.
better can Wolves get?
Well, that's the thing. Like, even they'd have to add, like, they're going to have to start adding superstars to get better. But I think Wolves have played towards the top end of what they were capable of this season. Whereas Leicester, I think the answer for how Leicester do it, they just keep the squad together. I mean, they can replace Demarai Gray, he's not great. Like, and they can improve in like the odd position. But actually, the squad's so young and so talented that keep them together until they're all 24 instead of being 22. And they will have a squad as good as the top 4 sides.
You have to keep one eye on. Yeah, I mean, like.
And this is in a season where they've sacked their manager.
I think you have to keep one eye on like Johnny Evans and Jamie Vardy. I think you don't want to be in a situation where if he gets injured next season, you are reliant on Kelechi and Nacho.
Is Johnny Evans an issue though? They've got like Soyuncu, who's barely played. They've got Benkovic coming back.
Benkovic, Celtic's, best defender, isn't playing at the moment. I think will arrive. I don't think they'll trust him with a starting berth from the get-go. Soyuncu, I'm not quite sure if he's panned out. He's barely got any minutes at the start of the season.
I mean, he's what, 20 and it's his first year?
Yeah, but if we're talking about going to the next level, you don't put one of those guys in straight away. I think if they signed a big hitter at centre-back and if they address those 2 positions with some serious cash, then I could see some points being hauled back. But I don't have any suggestions for those players.
Yeah, neither do I. But either way, who do you think the top 6? The top 6.
Sean Connery over
The top 6. It's been a long morning, guys. Should sell, and who should they buy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Moving on then to quick fire questions. Average Student says, is Sebastian Haller a perfect replacement for Karim Benzema at Real Madrid? If not, which team suits him? Pato.
I love Sebastian Haller, but what he's really good at is facilitating another forward. Like, he's an amazing passer. He's a really good creator. Real Madrid don't have the goal scorer, and they're not looking at goal scorers. Like, all we hear is Eriksen, Pogba, Hazard. None of those guys are going to be your guy who gets you 30 league goals.
Yeah.
And Gareth Bale very clearly isn't that guy at this point, and neither is Benzema. So I feel like what they need, they'd be much better going after Jovic than Haller. But Haller would make a lot of sense for, say, a Spurs type side, or if Juve say, you know what, Mandzukic is getting a little bit old, we need a guy who's going to do the work for Ronaldo and is not going to mind like just creating for him, he'd be interesting in a 2 up front with Ronaldo as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's better as a second striker up there.
Atleti would have been good too, but they've got Morata in who looks
what about
great.
Chelsea playing as a 9, bringing if they did keep Hazard into the game?
That'd be great.
I was kind of thinking that just then. You got Pulisic and Hazard kind of switching out pretty judiciously in that forward line with someone like him to focus on. I mean, if he goes to Juventus, then you can probably get one of their attacking options out of the club as well, which would be quite an interesting scenario. I don't know, where Allegri sees kind of Bernardeschi's future, because he's kind of been in and out of the side, but I really like him.
Oh, I think they're definitely keeping Bernardeschi, but I think
they like Chiesa as well.
Well, I think Douglas Costa's probably going to be on his way out, and maybe Mandzukic.
Yeah,
and Dybala possibly.
So if that hypothetical developed, that'd be interesting. Yeah, Chelsea, go on.
Okay, could this Ajax team survive in the Premier League as a top 6 club? That's from Floyd Lamad.
Yes.
Yes, hence why they're getting to the Champions League final. Ridiculous question.
They've beaten Juve, Real, Tottenham away from home.
Yeah.
Like, they're good.
The only trouble is they would literally get decimated unless you gave them the Premier League's money.
No, if they were in the Premier,
they had the Premier League's money.
Yeah, then like
they'd be incredible.
They'd become like a huge club.
Yeah, super club. Not that they're not now, but
I mean, yeah, you can't even kind of trot out the old the tired tropes of they've got a soft centre or they haven't got players who could rise to the physicality of the Premier League. De Ligt is literally a garage. Like every centre forward in the Premier League would find it hard, to go up against him, to go up against, Tagliafico's nice and athletic, Neres. Just right through that mid Van der Beek. We've discussed all these to death, haven't we?
Yeah,
I think they'd be third if they were in the Prem this season.
Yeah, third as well. So do I.
It's not saying much there, is it?
Zach,
with these 2 teams at the top.
Zach Gibbs 3 says, who has a better chance of breaking into the top 6 next season? Is it Wolves or Leicester? We kind of touched upon it just then. If you had to pick one of those 2?
Next season, Wolves. 2-3 seasons from now, Leicester.
I'd say Leicester next season.
Connor says, do you think Donny van den Beek would be the perfect Aaron Ramsey replacement?
No, Arsenal shouldn't get an Aaron Ramsey replacement. Aaron Ramsey is a problem for Arsenal.
Really? Would you not prefer to keep him than Ozil right now?
Yeah, but only because he's younger. Ozil makes more sense. He's going to age better, and Ozil can stay fit more of the time than Ramsey can. I mean, Arsenal shouldn't go for a like-for-like replacement. Aaron Ramsey is basically people think he's a midfielder. He isn't. He does no midfield stuff. He just attacks. Arsenal need a proper midfielder who's going to actually go both ways. They need a box-to-box mid.
Yeah.
So, no, okay. I wouldn't go for Donny van der Beek. I think there are better options out there.
Yeah, reinvest that money. I feel like he would cost a bit of a wedge as well.
Yeah.
Okay, last one then. Personal question from 123451YX.
Cool.
Brilliant. Says, opinions on Game of Thrones and Avengers Endgame. If you haven't watched it already, spoilers. Spoilers.
I don't want to talk about the Avengers movie. I haven't seen it.
Okay, we're not going to talk about the Avengers movie. Game of Thrones. You may as well talk about it. I don't care.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of Game of Thrones, are you?
Fun, but
I think it was, tonally, not what I was expecting. I think that scene at the start where the Dothrakis, where they disappear into the distance was a great Game of Thrones moment. But apart from that, kind of just felt like a fun addition to the Lord of the Rings, family. I much preferred Battle of the Bastards, Joe. I know you were a big Battle of the Bastards fan as well.
Yeah, man. I love that series.
Lacked a bit of emotional gravitas, Pato. When the Night King, spoiler alert, when the Night King dies, I wasn't like, get in, whereas when Joffrey died, I was literally my girlfriend had to peel me off the wall with a spade.
It's just been like a narrative and artistic failure, like this whole season. But going into it, I knew it wasn't going to be good. But then I heard people in the office the other day saying, best show ever. And I was like, I'm sorry if you think it's the best show ever. You are a f***ing idiot. There's no way around it. And this last episode was so...
If you think that about your peers, you probably shouldn't say it.
This last episode was so badly made in every particular...
Really? Even I don't watch
No,
Thrones,
mate,
so
you should watch...
Really
Okay, go home tonight, download it, and see if you can see what the is going on for 45 minutes of it. It's terrible. Literally, everyone thought their TV was broken because it was that bad. It's that badly lit. It's just so... It was really poor. This episode, it had about 2 good moments, but this season has been... dreadful.
Pato just gone double scathing there. I mean, that is a very
this
I thought
season's been really bad so far.
The tension in it was very good.
When? There was one good scene where she's in the library. That's about it.
Aya's library scene.
But that's it. The Silent Hill level, the Resident Evil level, and all the rest of it. I was just like,
yeah, that was kind of, a play out of Walking Dead's textbook, wasn't it?
And it's cowardly now. The show, like, it just doesn't kill anyone anymore. It's made by pussies. That's the problem.
Oh my God! Right, we're ending it now before Pato actually destroys his entire career.
What, by talking about Game of Thrones? I don't care about Game of Thrones.
Well,
it's like not significant.
Okay, fair enough.
Well then.
Well, what a note to end on. Sunday Vibes done for another week. As I said earlier, though, the podcast is out this week. Apologies for the little mini break we had. Just had too much going on, basically.
We do have big plans for it next season. Like, this is an extra show. I know you guys really like it, which is great, but we do it on top of the regular scheduled content. So sometimes there's going to be a break, but we are thinking of ways to bring it back bigger and better. So
yeah. What else is happening though? Football Social, you on it?
The next Football Social, I believe I have signed up for it. Yes, happy days. So I'm on that. That's on Tuesday. That's the return leg for Barca Liverpool. Obviously, that was the league and the champions. Stuff that we actually really enjoy making. Is not that we don't enjoy Football Social. That sounded, a bit controversial. Is raging on. We're getting towards the business end of the season there, and tens and XIs are always sticking about, aren't they? So, bye.